Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Now let's have a look at some of the stocks on the move today in Europe. Joining me is Bloomberg's equities reporter Joe Easton. Joe, good to have you on. Some very tough medicine for European markets and for European pharma stocks. They may have been exempt from the tariffs so far, but there's a real worry that may be coming next from President Trump.
Yeah, very tough medicine indeed. So Trump yesterday giving some comments on board Air Force One. As usual, not much detail in it. Trump just saying that he thinks there's going to be some kind of pharmaceutical tariff coming in soon. He said, we'll be announcing that sometime in the near future. It's under review right now. And that has really hit the pharmaceutical stocks today. So we're seeing losses likes of AstraZeneca, GSK, Novartis, Novo Nordisk. Basically, any company with big exposure to the US healthcare market is declining, and that is mostly because yesterday this sector kind of avoided the sell-off. It outperformed, given it was seen as a sector that had actually missed out on tariffs, and therefore a bit of a shock this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about Novo Nordisk and Ozempic, you think about Roche in Switzerland and others. But the thing is, something like 90% of all US spending on drugs and pharmaceuticals in the US is on generic drugs. Where are they made? They are made in India. That's why you saw the nifty pharma index slumping 6.2% on Friday. So yes, it's a European pharma story, but it's a global pharma story if that picture changes with the US. Meanwhile, banks are also facing really tough times in this new trading era.
Yeah, so banks having a really, really rough session once again. We're down 5% on the Stoxx Banks Index. That's the biggest decline in 2 years on a one-day basis. Yesterday, we had a similar amount, so both days are the biggest declines in 2 years for that index. Are down almost 10% on a two-day basis. Now, losses across Deutsche Bank, across Santander, Banco De Sabadell in Spain, Bank of Ireland, NatWest. Pretty much every bank is suffering losses, and this is simply because the tariffs are expected to have a negative impact on economic growth and therefore lending volumes, and also probably lead to more rate cuts, or at least gradual declines in the outlook for rates, more than expected in terms of the monetary policy outlook. There's a note out from analysts at Keefe, Bruyett and Woods. They've kind of tried to estimate the impact. They're calling for a 5% downgrade to bank earnings given the tariff impact, and therefore that is why the sector is lower. But of course, we'll have to wait and see how other countries react before we really know the main impact.
Outside of the tariffs, the other major story has been kind of company-specific, BP.
So BP announcing in a statement at 7 a.m. this morning that Chairman Helge Lund, apologies if I've butchered that name, but he is standing down of the struggling oil major. Now, the company facing activist investor pressure from Elliott over in the US, which built a 5% stake and is telling the company that it needs to hurry up in moving back towards traditional oil and gas, away from renewables, not doing that quick enough, according to Elliott. And actually, the chairman was one of the people that they had in their firing range, trying to get him out of there, and he does look like he is standing down. We'll have to wait and see who comes in and replaces him. But generally, also, the oil market slammed yesterday and today. Oil futures were down 7% yesterday, so we saw a massive sell-off in oil stocks, also commodity stocks in general, absolutely battered. So it's kind of really probably more of an indication of that, but also potentially a bit of uncertainty as the BP chairman stands down.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.